Pastor Paul asked me to say a few words this morning in preparation for his sermon. The scripture he's sharing today states that wives should submit to their husbands. This is a controversial topic, and it's often misunderstood. But I'd like to share a story with you from our own experience as a married couple. God gave me a husband who is very different from me. We see this in a lot of marriages, that spouses are complete opposites in many areas. This can be a source of a lot of conflict, but I believe that God did this in his wisdom so that spouses can complement each other, meaning that we complete each other or we bring each other to perfection. So often Paul and I will have very different perspectives on things and usually have lots to discuss when it comes to making the hard decisions. But most of the time, when we talk things out and understand each other's thoughts and run things through the lens of our mutual goals, we can come to an agreement. I can count on 2 fingers how many times I've truly disagreed with him on an important issue that we haven't been able to resolve, and I'll share one story with you. In 2009, we had a 5-year-old daughter who was very sick. We were living in Bismarck, North Dakota, and finally had been able to get an appointment with Bailey's neurologist in St. Paul. This was the 10th of December. She was immediately hospitalized, and when we realized that she would be there for a while, my mom, Grandma Margie, came up from Arizona to help us out with the kids in Bismarck. And I stayed with Bailey in the hospital. Paul was back and forth a couple of times as work allowed, and on December 23, we realized that we were going to be in the hospital for Christmas. Paul wanted my mom to drive the kids over from Bismarck to St. Paul, which is 430 miles, to spend Christmas together. I was adamant. I was not going to ask my mom to drive through a snowstorm on Christmas Eve. Plenty of families spent Christmas apart. Lots of military families were going to be apart from their loved ones this Christmas. It was not the end of the world. But Paul explained to me how important it was. He said we were the only family he had. We had the means to get our family to us. We had a place to stay, an apartment connected to the hospital for long-term patients' families. God allowed me to see my husband's heart. He wanted to be with his family for Christmas because he loved us. Paul actually used the words, "I need you to submit to me," for the first time in our marriage. Please understand, we'd been married 13 years before he spoke those words to me. So I submitted. I still didn't want to. But I called my mom and explained the situation to her. And I don't know why she agreed, but she did. She and the kids drove ahead of that snowstorm the whole way, and they arrived at supper time on Christmas Eve. On Christmas Day, Bailey's doctors thought she was well enough for a day pass to come to our apartment across the street from the hospital. We spent a lovely little Christmas with a tree we had picked up the day before and some gifts for the kids that the hospital had provided. We read the Christmas story and had a simple dinner together, and Bailey snuggled on Daddy's lap for a long time. And she smiled at us all, and then he took her back to the hospital and tucked her in. The next morning, she was gone. She had passed away in the night. What if I had said no? What if I had stubbornly demanded my own way? My mind can't even comprehend the alternative. Death is a horrible ending to a story, but how much worse would it have been if I had refused to submit to my husband? As it is, I am thankful. I am so thankful that we got to spend Christmas with Bailey together as a family. I am thankful that my children were there to say goodbye to their sister. I'm thankful that my mom was there. I'm thankful that I did not have to make that 430-mile drive back home with a husband who would have likely been bitter and angry. I'm thankful that we are still together as a family because I don't know if we could have made it otherwise. Submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. Wives, to your own husbands as you do to the Lord.